Check out this first story from the Wall Street Journal. Barr tells prosecutors to consider charging violent protesters with sedition. I love this. I actually looked up what sedition was, and there have been different sedition acts implemented in the U.S., and I think the past several iterations have been unconstitutional. They've been repealed. To bring a sedition case, prosecutors would have to prove there was a conspiracy to attack government agents or officials that posed an imminent danger. They say Attorney General William Barr told the nation's federal prosecutors to be aggressive when charging violent demonstrators with crimes, including potentially prosecuting them for plotting to overthrow the U.S. government. People familiar with the conversation said. In a conference call with U.S. attorneys across the country last week, Mr. Barr warned that sometimes violent demonstrations across the U.S. could worsen as the sometimes they could worsen as November presidential election approaches. He encouraged the prosecutors to seek a number of federal charges, including under a rarely used sedition law, even when state charges could apply. The call underscores the priority Mr. Barr has given to prosecuting crimes connected to violence during months of protests against racial injustice, leading to major property damage, as President Trump has made a broader crackdown on the violence and property destruction a key campaign issue. U.S. attorneys have broad discretion in what charges they bring. Federal prosecutors have charged more than 200 people with violent crimes related to the protests, most of whom face counts of arson, assaulting federal officers, gun crimes. FBI officials earlier this year described the perpetrators as largely opportunistic individuals taking advantage of the protests. In more recent months, police officials say they are alarmed by the presence of armed fringe groups from both sides of the political spectrum. Mr. Barr has blamed much of the violence on leftist extremists, including Antifa, a loose network of groups and people that describe themselves as opposing fascism, and which Mr. Barr has described as a movement advocating revolution. Mr. Barr is not wrong. They quite literally carry signs that read "revolution, nothing less." And what did you say to me?
What kind of revolution? They want an economic revolution? Is it an industrial revolution?
I mean, I think they want a political revolution.
But think is the key word there.
Well, in what context are they saying revolution?
There is no context.
Yeah, there is. They're marching around saying burn it down and throwing bricks at cops.
So now there's context.
Yeah, they're throwing bricks at cops and screaming revolution. So okay, they're targeting.
Maybe they want a violent political revolution. If that's the case, yeah, then that's what we got to prevent.
You know what I think, man? I don't think they actually want anything. So one of the other stories we were talking about is what's going on with Andy No. And there's a story written by Willamette. Willamette. I've been pronouncing it wrong, apparently.
Welcome to the new world.
Willamette Week. And they highlight these two Antifa people who were like, every day they put on their protest outfits and they go out together, and the boyfriend is the drum on the front line playing drums, so he wears a bulletproof vest, and she's a medic, so she puts on her medic gear. And I'm like, just play D&D. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm going to be the medic today. Okay, Dungeons and Dragons is right there,
Yeah. And
they're
then
playing a game.
And then make a video, talking about your beliefs and get 60,000 subscribers and change the world that way.
No, they're not even trying to change the world.
I mean, you got to get your fantasy out. I agree. You got to game or do something to get your fantasy out. But they really want to change the world. Otherwise, they wouldn't be out there.
I'll take some pool noodles. I will slide them over a mop. And you can whack each other all day and night with it while screaming that you're, don't hit me. I'm the medic. You're cheating. You can
still hit the medic.
You can still hit the medic.
You got to go for the medic first, actually.
I guess. Okay, so anyway, we can definitely talk about that. But I guess the question is, sedition, too far? Not far enough?
Doesn't go too far enough, I think.
It doesn't go too far enough.
Too far enough. Okay, sedition means that they're conspiring. And I think yesterday we talked about that, and I think that they are conspiring.
So the definition that I have for sedition is just conduct or speech inciting people to rebel against authority of the state or a monarch. And to me, that's basically exactly what they're doing. Like, how else would you describe marching in the street with signs and throwing bricks literally at cops and at federal officers? That is the embodiment of the state right in front of you.
I mean, they're straight up saying they want to burn it all down.
You guys are reading about it a lot more than I am. I'm not getting an organized desire, like command to destroy the U.S. government at all. I'm just getting more of a violent anger and lashing out.
Maybe for regular people, but it's being weaponized specifically by extremists who want to destroy. Like, there's a group of far left extremists. They're revolutionary communists. They want to overthrow everything. So they're going and finding anger from people in the community, and then using that to accomplish their goals. So if regular people might just get charged with some state level charge, but then you'll end up with the actual organizers getting charged with sedition, maybe that makes sense.
That might make a lot more sense. I would hate to see like frontline people that don't realize what they're involved in to start getting charged with sedition.
Yeah, stupid people, but that's most of them.
Wow. I think this is why they keep using the term anarchist, which you obviously vehemently disagree with.
Oh yeah,
because they just want to destroy. They don't actually have a program that they're trying to put into place. Because we talk about them like wanting power and wanting communism, but I think you're right. I think they don't even want that. They just want to destroy stuff.
So, well, anyway, look, I looked up sedition, and the crazy thing is, so I didn't know this. There were originally 17 articles proposed for the first Bill of Rights, and then it got they winded it down to condense it down to two. They condensed it down to 12 and then got rid of the first two. And it's actually really funny. But we've actually had multiple instances of the Sedition Act. So the first one, President John Adams signed into law in 1798. It set out punishments of up to 2 years of imprisonment for opposing or resisting any law of the United States.
Whoa.
Or writing or publishing, quote, false, scandalous, and malicious writing about the president or the Congress. Yikes. Though not the office of the vice president, then occupied by Adams' political opponent, Thomas Jefferson. That sounds like just hardcore corruption, you know?
That sounds like definitely heavy.
The president being like, you can make fun of the guy I don't like, but not me. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you go to jail.
Yep.
So check this out. This act of Congress was allowed to expire in 1801 after Jefferson's election to the presidency. Jefferson pardoned those still serving sentences, and fines were repaid by the government. This law was never appealed to the United States Supreme Court, but opponents claimed it was unconstitutional under the First Amendment. It is. And then we had another one in 1918, and I guess this is because of World War I or whatever. We had another Sedition Act. Dude, I'm reading all this stuff. This country used to be way more authoritarian.
Yeah, especially during world wars.
Yeah.
Or wars in general.
Suspending, didn't like Abraham Lincoln suspend habeas corpus?
I believe he did, yeah.
I've heard that.
I've
heard that.
He sure did.
And then in World War II, you had the Office of Censorship, which controlled the flow of information into and out of the United States.
Jeez.
Yeah, man.
Even the Vietnam conscription era was terrifying. Terrifying. Yeah. I used to live and be like, I hope I'm 27 before anything goes crazy, man. I hope I'm 35.
Because the draft still exists.
Yeah.
It's just, now it's all volunteer. They don't necessarily need to draft anybody. But here's the craziest thing. So we're going to segue from Bill Barr and the sedition stuff into these Antifa facing life in prison. But I got to highlight something that I find really, really interesting. So in 1798, I got it. There it is. In 1798, there were 17 articles approved by the House. This is for the Bill of Rights, right? And then eventually we ended up in September with 12. The first two didn't make it. The first one had to do with you can't change the salaries of representatives or something, whatever. The first one was supposed to set the amount of representatives existed. So the idea was that for every 30,000 people in the U.S., you'd get one representative. Could you imagine how many people in the House you would have?
We'd have so many.
We'd have what do we measure, 7,000 or 4,000?
If it was 4, for every 30,000,
yeah.
It would be 10,000.
Dude. But okay, so this makes sense because in order to represent people, you need a small group because one person can't represent 70,000 people accurately.
Yeah.
I can't even represent you accurately. If I had to be okay, I'm speaking for Tim today, I could only do a little pretty good accurate.
Now imagine doing
imagine 10 people that all had different opinions or had somewhat different opinions that I got, and then now 1,000. So I can see why they wanted to limit it to 3,000 or whatever. But then, so what do we have? 30,000? Do we have 6,000 representatives, or is it just a flawed system?
I don't think they predicted how many people were going to live in this country, and that was it. They were like, So they said eventually it will be no more than one for every 50,000. Which would have brought us to, in 2010, 6,563 members of the House.
Whoa.
You would need a stadium for that.
You need representatives for the representatives.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, almost. You're getting close to it.
So ineffective.
Yeah.
So ultimately, this is still pending before Congress, I guess. But the laws for the Sedition Act of 1918 and whatever, it's, here we go, seditious conspiracy. So this is what I think they're specifically referring to. If two or more persons in any state or territory or in any place subject to the jurisdiction of the United States conspire to overthrow, put down, or to destroy by force the government of the United States, or to levy war against them, or to oppose by force the authority thereof, or by force to prevent, hinder, or delay the execution of any law of the United States, or by force to seize, take, possess any property of the United States contrary to the authority thereof, they shall each be fined or imprisoned not more than 20 years, or both. Oh, and there it is. For a seditious conspiracy charge to be effected, a crime need only be planned. It need not be actually attempted.
Whoa.
According to Andre Torres and Jose E. Velasquez, the accusation of seditious conspiracy is of political nature and was used almost exclusively against Puerto Rican independentistas in the 20th century, not 12th, 20th. However, the act was also used in the 20th century against communists. Wow. The United Freedom Front, neo-Nazis, and terrorists such as the Provisional IRA in Massachusetts and Omar Abdel Rahman. Well, I think that actually makes sense. I mean, when you look at Antifa attacking the federal courthouse in Portland, they were planning this. They were putting weapons. There was like a backpack found with commercial grade fireworks, explosives, bullets. And there was magazines were found with like red paint on them. So sounds like they were organized and planning for a siege on a federal building.
Yeah,
and they were trying to break into it.
Dude, that's it. That's what this law is for. Preventing that.
So they were trying to break in, but can they prove the people were planning to break in specifically to
They specifically went to the federal building to destroy to harm and blow up the federal building. They wanted to set it on fire.
There's a video of them trying to cut through the chains with like welding tools to like get in the building.
The question, I guess one question is it a political movement, this Antifa thing, or is it just like a lash out against fascism and it's
What fascism?
Corporate government collusion.
The reason why I wanted to go through these past sedition laws is to make the point we are so much more free today than back then. It's like maybe that's the problem. We've actually become so free. These people are running around unchecked, unopposed.
And like we were saying, World War II, maybe those laws actually helped us win the war. Like it was crazy lockdown, martial law, but we won the war and we didn't have German spies sending information out of the country as far as we know.
I mean, that's a big challenge in freedom versus security. Authoritarianism can be efficient in the short term because it allows you to execute very quick decisions and moves. But in the long term, it completely destabilizes a civilization because one individual can't accurately plan a long-term economy and they can't accommodate everybody's desires.
So if we could turn something on and then automatically has sunset clause, like turn on some authoritarian move and then have it disappear after 2 years.
I'm wary of any kind of emergency powers. You know, you look at what's going on in Michigan. Governor Whitmer there's now 400,000 signatures to strip the governor of Michigan of the existing governorship's emergency powers because how the governor today has abused them. They won't give it up. And the craziest thing is Whitmer. She's the Democrat in Michigan who's locking everything down, and she's nuts. She's basically telling people, she's straight up telling people, don't sign this. Don't repeal my power.
Do you think it would be more effective to get her out of office or to repeal the power of the office?
Get the power out of there.
So you don't like executive action, executive authority makes you nervous?
Too much.
Yeah.
Too much. We need a good amount. This is too much. You look at how she's abused people and shut down like tiny barber shops run by like little old men.
Yeah, dude. One person should not have that kind of power when it comes to state law.
And so anybody who tells me, listen. If I go to you and say we got 400,000 people who say you have too much power, and they go no, and they're like I am the Senate, and like that, and then fly at me with their saber out, that person's got to go.
That's a Robin Hood villain. You just
nailed a Sith villain.
That's the sheriff.
That's literally Palpatine.
Yeah,
dude. If they come in and they say it's time for you to give up your emergency powers, they should be like okay,
or at least strip it for temporarily.
No, I mean look, it's an emergency power. It's supposed to be temporary. We are a country that requires the consent of the governed for the government to exist. There should never be a point where the governor's like, do not take my power from me.
Right. You defer to your populace.
Yeah. If 400,000 people say we've signed signatures for this, my response would be like, can we do a referendum? Can we like put it on a ballot and then have everyone go and they can say yes or no? And then because emergency powers can work if you need to move quickly. If you're like, whoa, we got a major disaster, I need to be able to move faster than a council can to protect the people.
So, Barr, do you like this emergency, this sedition concept?
Man, that's tough. I feel like Antifa, if there was a line of like, so first of all, they're criminals. That's not even a question. You go out and you do these things, you organize this stuff, you're committing crimes.
Some of them. Some people may identify as Antifa and not be committing any crimes.
No. I'm specifically referring to them who go out in Portland. And I would even go as far to say, if you are out there and you watch someone throw an explosive and you stay, you're helping them.
Whoa, dude, that's risky.
Wait. So you mean if let me put it this way. Throwing an explosive is a very serious crime.
I mean,
right?
if I don't report a crime, I think that's
I didn't say
crime
I didn't say you had to report anything.
Is it legal? So if I see you, if I'm out walking my dog and I see you throw a firebomb into someone's house and I don't report that, is that illegal of
No.
me? Am I under?
I think there may be some jurisdictions that would have some, but I think for the most part, no. You just run and.
What if I just stood there and watched?
Nothing.
Exactly. It's not illegal to stay and watch.
These people are linking arms, and they're standing in front of everyone.
Oh, well, that's different.
But that's what they're all doing. Some people leave. I'm not talking about those people. So if you're at one of these events and you're holding a shield, or you're standing there side by side and people are standing next to you throwing things and you know it, like Ted Wheeler was out there, the mayor of Portland, of throwing explosives. The way I describe it is this: throwing an explosive is a very, very serious crime. You could blow someone's hand off. Like one cop got hit in the leg and had to be brought into the hospital for like an emergency, medical treatment. I don't know exactly what happened with that, but we saw the photos of cops with like their skin burned off from the explosions and stuff like that. I'd argue throwing an explosive at someone is probably worse than robbing a bank.
Yeah,
robbing a
definitely.
bank is a coercive demand. So I'll put it this way: if one of these Antifa guys walks into a bank, imagine it this way. An Antifa guy goes, "Hey everybody, we're all going to go inside this bank and we're going to protest the 1%." And you said, "Okay." You walked in and you're standing next to him, and then he raises a gun and then he says, "Give me all your money now." And you go, "This is great." And you're standing in front of him while it's going down. Aren't you an accomplice abetting?
At that point, yeah. But if it's on the street, you're across the street and you're throwing a firebomb and I'm 30 feet away from you, dressed like you.
But I'm not talking.
I'm not necessarily part of that.
All right, let's try again. Let's say this Antifa guy says, "Hey everybody, we're going to go to a bank and we're going to protest the 1% by all wearing the same masks." And then you say, "Okay," and you go in the bank and one guy with the mask raises a gun and says, "Anybody move?"
You're going to get busted at that point.
You're helping them.
You're conspiring, whether you meant to or not.
Yeah. So there is a fine line between how do we deal with those who have chosen to stay and stand side by side with those who are laying siege to a federal building to break in and cause damage, and those who thought they were going to a peaceful protest and say, "I got to get out of here."
And sometimes they'll be burning a building. You don't even know it a block away because you don't see it. And then, you're complicit because you dressed like them and you didn't run.
But I gotta add, you'd think after 90 plus days, what's the line? After 10 days of them laying siege to a courthouse and you decide to go? Well, put it this way: someone's robbing a bank every Friday and you're like, "I'm gonna go next Friday and see what's going on."
Dude,
They're gonna be like,
if they're sieging federal property, they should go to jail. They should be taken off the street.
So all of these moms, the mom block or whatever, where they're all linking arms and shielding Antifa as they throw explosives, yeah, man, I think that crosses the line. Now, sedition, I don't know. They're not organizing. They're just being dumb.
But are they organizing? We don't know.
The wall of moms, I mean, they coordinated their outfits.
Yeah, are they on Telegram chat? Are they on Facebook, like encrypted chats where they're all like getting funded and there's no way to know?
Well, there is. I mean, I'm sure the government has ways of tracking their communications to varying degrees. But if they all show up wearing yellow with mom written on their chests, someone told them what to do and they did it.
Right.
So there's a line, right? That's what I'm saying. Those people might get some kind of charge. Like when people start throwing explosives and then a month later you come down and shield them. Okay, we have to assume we're not going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to assume you must have known. However, I don't think necessarily you can charge them with a crime proving they knew, but you don't give them the benefit of the doubt. So after the explosives are thrown, if they remain, then some, light lower tier charge. The people who run and say, "I don't have anything to do with this. Thank you for leaving. Because these people are disrupting this. Please point out the extremists. We'll arrest them. And then you can maintain your peaceful protest." Because once they started arresting these people, everything cleared up.
I noticed that.
Everything cleared up. And they did a dance party. And they got their peaceful protest. And then all of a sudden, it's gone.
Dude, I wanted Trump to send in the National Guard like right away. Day 2.
But could you imagine what the states would have done?
It would have been chaos. I'm glad. I'm naive, but that's what I would have done if I was the president. I would have said that to my advisors, like, let's send them in. And he probably did
I bet
too.
he did, yeah. And they were probably like the mayor, the governor, the state AG, they are going to get everyone in opposition to you. You are going to have business owners protesting you. It would be total chaos.
And he said at the town hall last night, he mentioned the National Guard again. They were like, how would you have? And he was like, I would have set the National Guard in.
But he was telling the governors to call in the National Guard. What he was saying was, I have the availability. Just let me know, because then it would be up to them.
Yeah,
well, they didn't do it, but Trump shut it down. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. So come back to check us out when we go live. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell. And we are also available on all podcast platforms for free if you want to listen to us there. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all next time.